Terrifying new footage putting you in the shoes of a plane crash survivor. The aftermath of the incident in Canada, seen through the eyes of a passenger as the investigation continues.
But we do start this afternoon with a live look outside where you can see very cloudy, foggy day settled over downtown Austin. And those clouds are bringing some spotty showers to Central Texas, and a big drop in the temperatures already happening now.
Yeah, there's also a power outage already affecting more than 7,000 people, Encore customers in both Williamson and Travis counties. Chief Meteorologist Nick Bannon joining us now. A look at what we can expect tonight, Nick.
Yeah, wind gusts are going to get incredibly strong over the coming hours. That'll be your telltale sign that a front has arrived where you are. And we're watching those winds moving that tree around on the right-hand side of your screen in Georgetown. And from time to time, you'll see it shuffling about a little bit as the winds are only just starting to pick up there in Williamson County and northwestern Travis County ahead of the front. This from our Ewald Kubota weather camera. Before the front gets here, we're still wet with some showers and some locally heavier downpours in some spots. But as that front arrives, it's going to put an end to the wet weather, which is a good thing because we don't want the wet weather to continue overnight as temperatures drop below freezing. But you can still see widespread rain in Hayes, Travis counties, and our eastern counties. But you can almost see the ending of the rain coming with that front as it spills into northwestern Travis County. And here is the map that we will be watching closely over the coming hours, the temperature map. Starting to see that front has arrived in Milam County. It's arrived in Georgetown, where you've dropped from near 60 into the low 40s. We're still ahead of the front in Austin, but within the next 30 minutes or so, I think that front gets here. We're already below freezing or at freezing in parts of the hill country, and you can see those winds gusting between 25 to 31 miles per hour already. It will turn colder but drier this evening as those rain chances drop off. 42 at 7 in Austin, and then we're barely above freezing at 11 tonight. So coming up in First Warning Weather, we'll keep timing out this front and show you the minute-by-minute impacts as we'll be seeing these temperatures dropping even during this newscast, along with the gusty winds and the brutal and at times dangerous wind chills. And a great reminder that although it's going to be pretty chilly here, there are other places seeing worse. You're looking at Chicago, where you can see snow and ice on the ground. Temperatures up there clocked in at 4 degrees below zero this morning, with wind chills reaching as low as 30 degrees below zero. And turning now to Colorado, where the state's Department of Transportation captured this video of an avalanche triggered by heavy snow and severe weather conditions there. Strong winds and intense snowfall created hazardous travel across much of the state's high country.
All right, Nick, thank you so much. Troubling video now out of Toronto, Canada, showing the moment a passenger on board the Delta flight that crashed yesterday safely escaped the aircraft.
Everything, drop it. Come on.
Footage taken by Peter Koku shows passengers struggling to get over seats, bags, and debris as flight attendants guide them through the emergency door and then out onto the icy Canadian runway. Today, an international band of investigators are on the ground working to get to the bottom of what exactly caused this crash. They are working to learn if weather may have played a role, with the National Weather Service noting 40-mile-per-hour winds and snow blowing as the plane came to land. 21 people were hospitalized after the crash, and 19 of them were released this morning.
And this comes as here in the U.S., the Trump administration lays off hundreds of Federal Aviation Administration employees, including one working at the Austin airport. That's according to Congressman Lloyd Doggett. In a message posted to X last night, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said fewer than 400 FAA employees were let go, all with probationary status or hired less than a year ago. And Duffy said no air traffic controllers or critical safety staff were let go as part of the layoffs. Well, the Department of Government Efficiency's efforts to shrink the federal government now includes some workers at one of Elon Musk's own companies. According to Reuters, FDA employees who were in the process of reviewing Neuralink were fired over the weekend. Now, Neuralink is Elon Musk's brain implant company with offices in the Austin area. According to two sources with knowledge of the firings, 20 people in the FDA's Office of Neurological and Physical Medicine Devices were fired, and some of them had been reviewing Neuralink's clinical trials.
The U.S. and Russia met for the first time today to try to bring an end to the war in Ukraine. President Donald Trump's top diplomat, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, said the two countries will appoint teams to work toward ending the war.
But as NBC's Julie Sirkin reports, Ukraine and European allies were not at the negotiating table.
Just shy of 3 years since the start of Russia's brutal war against Ukraine, an intense effort is underway to end it. Today in Saudi Arabia, the first formal U.S.-Russia talks since the Kremlin's illegal and unprovoked invasion.
I came away today convinced that they are willing to begin to engage in a serious process to determine how and how quickly and through what mechanism can an end be brought to this war.
President Trump's Secretary of State Marco Rubio, along with his national security advisor and special envoy, at the table with their Russian counterparts in a 4.5-hour meeting, optimistic about what appears to be a seismic shift in relations. But notably absent from negotiations, Ukraine. President Zelensky reaffirming there will be no deal without the war-torn nation's input. Also not invited, European Union countries, including many that have felt the impact of Russia's aggression unfolding in their backyard. Rubio defending the move.
So no one is being sidelined here, but President Trump is in a position that he campaigned on.
It comes after Trump alarmed Ukraine and European allies when he revealed he spoke to Russian President Putin, who has long been ostracized by the West. Senators on both sides of the aisle visiting Ukraine's capital overnight.
I don't believe that any agreement can be done behind Ukraine's back.
Of course they have to be at the table. There are thousands of people who have given their lives to defend this country.
We are not going to see any kind of negotiated end to this war unless there are security guarantees that people feel comfortable about.
The Trump administration abruptly ending the West's efforts to isolate Russia and raising fears of handing Putin too much power. As part of those high-level talks, the U.S. and Russia agreed to reestablish embassy staffing and improve diplomatic and economic ties. In Washington, Julie Sirkin, NBC News.
Well, back home, the head of the U.S. Postal Service is stepping down. Postmaster General Louis DeJoy asked the USPS to begin the process of identifying his successor. In a letter, DeJoy said it was important the Postal Service, quote, be well positioned for future success under new leadership. DeJoy has pushed for major cost cutting at USPS since he took over in 2020 with the goal of making the post office, which has lost $100 billion since 2007, profitable.
Austin police need your help identifying the suspect in an attempted sexual assault at an Austin trail. Here's a look at a police sketch of the suspect. We told you a couple weeks ago that a woman says the suspect sexually assaulted her in broad daylight during a morning jog on Southern Walnut Creek Trail. That's near Airport Boulevard. He's described as about 5'6" to 5'9", about 200 pounds, with a medium to heavy build. He was last seen wearing a black sweatshirt and black pants. We did speak to the victim in this case last week, who took the time to share her story with us and remind others to stay vigilant out on trails.
Women are asked to take precaution when they're running at night, and this happened at 9 a.m.
If you have any information on who the suspect might be, call APD's Sex Crimes Unit. Cutting the ribbon on a brighter future for the next generation of Austinites, the new Boys and Girls Clubs opening at 3 Austin ISD elementary schools today.
Passengers flying out of the Austin airport are covering new ground in 2025. The 2 new nonstop service options you'll have just in time for your summer vacation. The airline Austin passengers use more than any out of AUS is about to shrink. Southwest Airlines is preparing for the first round of mass layoffs in the company's history. Southwest plans to lay off 15% of its corporate workforce. That's more than 1,700 jobs, including senior leadership positions and directors. This comes as the carrier is under pressure from investors to rein in expenses while trying to maintain its reputation as a budget-friendly airline. Frontier Airlines is launching 2 new nonstop flights from Austin in May. Nonstop flights to Miami and Philadelphia are set to start on May 22nd, and each route will go out there
2 times a week. And these will be the 5th and 6th new routes the airline is bringing to Austin this year. The airline will also start new nonstop service to Chicago O'Hare, Orlando, Cincinnati, and Phoenix this year.
The Williamson County Regional Animal Shelter says it needs your help as it works to care for several dogs that came from the same location. You're looking now at some of the animals that they're treating right now. The shelter says the dogs need extra medical care and they don't know how many others might need help. So if you're able to, the Williamson County Regional Animal Shelter is asking that you foster a dog for an outing or a day or a couple of weeks. If you can help, the shelter is open every day from noon to 6 p.m.
High temperatures today, not all that high, but pretty close to 60 in Austin, 59 at Camp Mabry. We got to 62 at the airport. But officially, our front has now arrived downtown. These temperatures will now start tumbling in Austin, and they'll continue to tumble in the hill country and soon tumble in our eastern counties. We'll track that temperature drop and the impacts expected in first warning weather.
Families will now have more options for their children who need a place to go after school. As of today, there are 3 new Boys and Girls Club locations at AISD campuses, giving hundreds more students access to free programs.
Our Jayla Washington is live at a launch celebration. So Jayla, walk us through what's happening and why this is such a big deal.
Hi, well, you guys came to me perfect timing because as we speak, they are actually about to officially do their ribbon cutting ceremony. We were here at Hart Elementary. I wish there weren't so many people there sort of blocking our view, but back there, the backdrop is where they're doing the ribbon cutting ceremony, celebrating 3 new campuses that are now going to have the after school programs through the Boys and Girls Club. They intentionally chose the campuses it did, including this one where we are, to make sure they can reach families who really need access to this type of care.
Does it take you back being in a classroom like this?
Oh, for sure.
Miguel Guerrero, the family engagement manager of the Boys and Girls Club of Austin, was once in the very shoes of the kids and families he now works with.
My family wanted me to go to club just to have a safe place for me to go while they continued to work. The impact that it made was having the support in whatever I wanted to do.
This impact different for every kid, but now positioned to make more of a difference in many more lives.
It takes a multitude of folks.
Similar to some of what you see here at this location.
Cheer room.
The Boys and Girls Club will now be running 3 new elementary clubs at Hart, Harris, and Pecan Spring elementary schools on AISD campuses. It'll give more than 300 students access to free after-school programs.
We're uniquely qualified to be in communities that we would say need us the most. And so having access to a high quality program, activities and experience is key.
Partnering with the nonprofit, the Andy Roddick Foundation, for the last several years makes offering free programs for families possible. And they've measured the success of what works and make adjustments each year.
When you can look at programs like this to close that gap, it allows for kids to be on the same, playing field than their peers, that their parents can afford it. It all leads to wanting to come to school, which leads to better success measures and academics and graduation rates for the future.
At the core of these programs are staff who care, who get involved with their kids.
Yeah, the opportunity for play.
Never losing their inner kid, helping make these programs more engaging and enriching for students.
I would say it makes me emotional just because the thing I valued most was like that connection with staff and other kids. And I think now more than ever, like, kids are looking for that.
So I've absolutely loved doing this story today, just really getting to talk about the impact. You can see they just did the ribbon cut. We actually missed it when we were showing you the story there, but you can see lots of kids now from the Boys and Girls Club are posing for photos. Again, just really excited. You've got the superintendent for AISD here. You've got Judge Brown from Travis County. So lots of people coming together, really just working together to make sure that students have access to the after-school care they need. Online, KXAN.com, I'm going to have more information about actual research that's out there that shows the impact of these after-school programs and actually how kids who are a part of these programs end up doing better later in life. For now, I'm reporting live at Hart Elementary. Jayla Washington, KXAN News.
All right, Jayla, thank you so much. Going in depth right now, childcare is more expensive in Travis County than anywhere else in Texas. Back in November, Travis County voters passed Proposition A, which ushered in a property tax increase to support affordable childcare options like after-school programs. Nearly 60% of voters supported the measure. The 2.5-cent property tax hike will go toward 1,900 childcare slots for babies and toddlers and 3,900 slots for after-school and summer school activities for elementary-age students.
All right, let's get back to the weather now because here we go. It's really starting to turn out there.
Yeah, winds are whipping. I want to take you out to our covert Bee Cave Auto Mall camera in Bee Cave where the Texas and U.S. flags are dealing with that strong wind that's gusting already between 30 and 40 miles per hour. The wind will continue to pick up as our cold front spreads. That 59 was the temperature at the top of the hour 20 minutes ago. So that temperature will update unless there's a special update. It'll update again at 6, by which point I think we'll be in the low 40s because our cold front has arrived in Austin. This is a rough placement of it based on some of the wind I'm seeing with radar. Positioning the front roughly here, and you can see 53 in Rockdale, starting to feel that front now, 47 in Cameron, also 42 in Georgetown, and below freezing in parts of the hill country now. The wind is the first sign that the front's on top of you, and that wind continues to pick up throughout Travis County. It's already been blowing in Williamson County and much of the hill country. Well, that wind will have spread throughout most of the area by about 7 or 7:30, by which point all of us will feel not just gusty winds between 30 and 40 miles per hour, but plummeting temperatures. You can see it's still going to be windy tomorrow morning, a bone-chilling start for your kids at school or you trying to get to work. And then it's still windy in the afternoon tomorrow, just not as windy as the morning will be. But a wind advisory in effect from midnight tonight through noon tomorrow for Travis, Hayes, Blanco, most of our eastern counties with the exception of Lee and Milam County. For those gusts up to 40 miles per hour, we've already had some localized power outages unrelated to the Texas grid, just the local outages caused by, say, branches falling on power lines, that sort of thing. And it's certainly possible we get more of those here tonight. As far as temperatures, they're already starting to drop, of course, and they will continue to drop with 40s quickly turning to 30s for most of us by 10, if not earlier, even some 20s by then in the hill country. We drop below freezing by midnight in the metro, and then we're starting your morning tomorrow in the 20s and teens. By the way, while we're not concerned about wintry precipitation, if there's any puddles from the rain today that are more sheltered from the dry blowing wind, those puddles may still remain as temperatures drop below freezing. So we're not going to say no icing concerns, but we think that the icing concerns would be fairly limited overnight into tomorrow morning. Through the day tomorrow, high temperatures do climb above freezing, barely. Mid to upper 30s for most of us. And then we get even colder here Thursday morning, down in the low 20s, and some teens in the hill country would tie it for being our coldest morning of the winter season. And of course, on top of this, we're talking about rain right now. It's a short-lived thing, though. This rain is going to be cut short as the front moves through. The rain won't end immediately with the cold front, but it will wrap up. And as we head through the late evening hours, drier weather takes over, and we should be dry here tomorrow and Thursday. So showers end tonight. Windy and much colder, eventually getting down to 25. We've got extreme cold warnings for most of the hill country with those wind chills in the single digits tonight. Cold weather advisories for most of the rest of us with wind chills between 5 and 20 tomorrow morning. Don't forget the 4 Ps before you go to bed tonight. People, pets, plants, and pipes. And don't forget your pants either. 37 tomorrow. Windy and a cold day. Morning clouds, some afternoon sun. And you can see those next 3 days. Sunshine Thursday. Some light rain possible on Friday. Here's a look at our first warning weather 7-day forecast. Mid-40s with some light rain Saturday. Then sunshine brings us into the 60s on Sunday. And by next Tuesday, we're almost to 80. We'll be right back.
Mexico says it's waiting on Google to respond to its new request to fully restore the name Gulf of Mexico to Google's maps and services. Yesterday, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum shared a letter addressed to her government from Google's Vice President of Government Affairs and Public Policy. It said the tech giant will not change the policy it outlined after U.S. President Donald Trump declared the body of water the Gulf of America. Mexico is now threatening legal action, arguing the mapping policy violates Mexican sovereignty since the U.S. only has jurisdiction over about 46% of the Gulf. Most is controlled by Mexico at 49%, and Cuba has about 5%. Well, coming up tonight on KXAN, everything is all new at 7 o'clock, St. Dennis Medical, followed by Night Court at 7:30, Deal or No Deal Island at 8 o'clock, and then at 9, it's The Irrational, before we're back with KXAN News at 10.
And of course, you can join us an hour earlier for KXAN News at 9 o'clock on CW Austin. Here's where to find us.